riders accompanying the Alavarn envoy's carriage. And that's too large an escort. They said they were bringing a dozen. Odin's bristly gray brows descended the broad dome of his forehead. It's true that I wouldn't expect an ambassador to take so much trouble to be rude. They wouldn't. Not if they were planning to negotiate in good faith. And that was what made this a far more serious issue than the mere inconvenience of an early guest. The Shrike Lord of Alavar is playing games. Odin blew a breath through his mustache. Reckless of him, given the fleet of Imperial warships sitting off his coast. Rather. I hunkered down close to the slate to get under the chill edge that had come into the wind in the past few days, heralding the end of summer. I worked hard to set up these talks between Alavar and the Serene Empire. What in the nine hells is he trying to accomplish? The line of riders drew closer along the gray strip of road that wound between bright green farms and swaths of dark forest, approaching the grassy, sun-mottled hill that lifted Gloamingard Castle toward a banner-blue sky. The sun winked off the silver-tipped antlers of 6 proud stags drawing the carriage, a clear announcement that the coach's occupant could bend wildlife to their will, displaying magic in the same way a dignitary of the Serene Empire of Rivera to the south might display wealth, as a sign of status and power. Another gleam caught my eye, however, the metallic flash of sabers and muskets. Pox! I swore. Those are all soldiers. Odin scowled down at them. I'm no diplomat like you, Warden, but it does seem odd to bring an armed platoon to sign a peace treaty. I almost retorted that I wasn't a diplomat either, but it was as good a word as any for the role I'd carved out for myself. Diplomacy wasn't part of a warden's job. Wardens were mages. It was their duty to use their magic to nurture and sustain life in the area they protected. But my broken magic couldn't nurture. It only destroyed. When my grandmother followed family tradition and named me the Warden of Gloamingard Castle, her own seat of power, on my 16th birthday, it had seemed like a cruel joke. I'd found other ways. If I couldn't increase the bounty of the crops or the health of the flocks with life magic, I could use my Riveran mother's connections to the Serene Empire to enrich our domain with favorable trade agreements. If I couldn't protect more grain by rousing the land against bandits or invaders, I could cultivate good relations with Rivera, securing my domain a powerful ally. I'd spent the past 5 years building that relationship, despite muttering from traditionalists in the family about being too friendly with a nation we'd warred with countless times in centuries past. I'd done such a good job, in fact, that the Serene Empire had agreed to accept our mediation of an incident with Alavar that threatened to escalate into war. I can't let them sabotage these negotiations before they've even started. It wasn't simply a matter of pride. More grain lay directly between Alavar and the Serene Empire. If the Shrike Lord wanted to attack the Empire, he'd have to go through us. The disapproving gaze Odin dropped downhill at the Alavarns could have frozen a lake. How should we greet them, Warden? My gloved fingers dug against the unyielding slate beneath me. Form an honor guard from some of our nastiest-looking battle chimeras to welcome them. If they're going to make a show of force, we have to answer it. That was Vaskandran politics, all display and spectacle, a stark contrast to the subtle, hidden machinations of Riverans. Odin nodded. Very good, Warden. Anything else? The Riveran envoy would arrive tomorrow, with a double handful of clerks and advisors, prepared to sit down at a table and speak in a genteel fashion about peace, to find my castle already overrun with the bristling military presence of Alaveran soldiers. That would create a terrible first impression, especially since Alavar and Morgraine were both domains of the great nation of Vaskandar, the Empire's historical enemy. I bit my lip a moment, thinking. Quarter no more than a dozen of their escort in the castle, I said at last. Put the rest in outbuildings or in the town. If the envoy raises a fuss, tell them it's because they arrived so early and increased their party size without warning. A smile twitched the corners of Odin.